Well, guys, Salesforce just went through another round of layoffs. It's not quite as splashy as last year where they laid off half of their customer service staff for AI agents, but it's really important to kind of understand this trend that we're seeing in the AI workplace. Now, again, this is something that I've been kind of talking about for a while, even though we talk about all the layoffs and transitions and disruption that's coming into the industry, every industry via AI. My kind of core message is don't give up hope. There will be opportunity. And I think that's what we're seeing in this round of layoffs. Hear me out. Basically, this next round of layoffs is pretty small. It's, about 90 jobs, 86 jobs. And again, what's interesting is who is being laid off and why. And we're going to kind of talk about that in today's video. Basically, the California WARN filing shows about 86 job cuts. And there could be more globally, but that's what we're seeing in California. But what's interesting is that the jobs that are being laid off are primarily attached to AI Agentforce. So Agentforce is Salesforce's basically AI agent engine attached. So what they're doing is going ahead and laying off some of the people that are working within that department. And now there could be a few different reasons for this. It could be that Salesforce is kind of consolidating around a fewer AI projects. Maybe they had too many AI products, too many projects. They said, oh, we're gonna just kind of get focused on a few. And I think that's an important thing for any organization to do, especially in this AI world. Over the past few days, we've been talking about token usage. And I'll post a link to this video here where a company actually spent $500 million on AI tokens in 1 month. And why is this happening? Well, you can watch that video to go more deeply into it. But what we're kind of seeing across industries is that every company, every person is just saying more AI, more AI, more AI. And there's two problems to this. One problem is that you kind of dilute your efficiency and your focus. And I know this is kind of a problem that I've been dealing with. I have so many different projects that when you stretch your attention too thin, it can create, everything kind of suffers. Like when you get really focused on something, that helps out. So anyway, perhaps what we're seeing over at Salesforce is they say, we've got too many different softwares, we've got too many AI agents, we're just gonna focus on the ones that are working out the best. And I think that would be a smart approach. You're testing different AI agents, you're testing different new standard operating procedures to see what works and then kind of cut out the remainder. This is pretty standard procedure, especially in the marketing world where I live, and we're always testing out new customer acquisition strategies. It also could be that Agentforce isn't scaling as smoothly as they expected. Again, maybe they went through this whole token paradox that we're seeing with other companies and other organizations. It could be that the AI productivity gains are reducing the need for certain roles as well. This is something that we covered a few days ago with ClickUp. ClickUp, and I'll post a link to the video here. ClickUp basically said that, hey, we don't need as many people writing code because we're just gonna have a few engineers using Claude, using Cowork, using Claude Code and these various AI LLMs to write code instead. And we're looking for the 100x employees. And when you have 100x employees, you don't need all the 10x employees. You can cut those out and focus on the 100x employees. And I think that's kind of an interesting shift in the way that we perceive work. I mean, heck, it could even just be a standard, hey, we're laying off the bottom 5 to 10% of low performers. That's like a pretty standard thing for big companies to do is at the end of the year say, hey, we're just gonna cut out the bottom 10%. And you might feel a certain way about it, but in reality, if you've got a huge organization like Salesforce that's employing tens of thousands of people, it might make sense to do something like that. Again, though, what I think is interesting about this round of Salesforce layoffs is they are directly attributed to the Agentforce, which is their huge, huge push. You'd think they'd want all hands on deck. But again, maybe they overhired, maybe it's not as efficient, maybe they're just gonna get focused in on some projects that are bearing fruit. It could be that the tokens are kind of they're spending too much on tokens. I mean, there could be a number of things that are happening there. But what I know, and I think the thought process that we should all have in this particular point in time is how valuable am I to my organization and to customers and clients? What results can I get them? How am I innovating? How am I being innovative? I think that's really easy. Now's a really important thing. Now's a really good time to be innovating, trying new things, using co-work, being public about it. That's something that I've mentioned. And, leaning on your relationships. I think it's also really clear that when you're experimenting with new tools, experimenting with AI agents, that you're speaking with leadership, you're speaking with clients, you're putting new practices into place and SOPs into place to get better results. Better definition of what your role is inside your organization. This is another problem that I think people can fall into in a workforce is you're trying to do way too many different things. And we laid off a few people at one of the organizations I work with. We brought new people in, and one of the things that we learned through that process is you got to give people clear KPIs, clear key performance indicators. How are you being judged? How are you being graded? One of the nice things about school is it's pretty straightforward. You get an A, that's good. You get an F, that's bad. Although, by the way, I think it's kind of funny that in my kids' schools, they don't even really do failing. Like failing is a 50. Like, I don't know, in some schools, they don't even do pass A, B, C, D, F. They're just like pass or fail. I don't know. It seems like kind of the wussification of our educational system, but I'll get into that in another video. I don't want to digress too far off the topic. The point I'm trying to make is that being really clear on what do you need me to do? How am I graded? Can I use AI? What's my AI budget? How can I leverage AI to make your business run more smoothly, to make you more efficient, to save you money, to make you money? These are, I think, really key questions. And then just continuously strive to get better results faster. And the last thing I'll point out with AI, and I don't necessarily know that these are the problems that these guys are having, but I do know that it's a problem with people that I work with and colleagues and I've talked about this a lot, is the AI slop problem. And again, this is what is costing these companies millions of dollars in tokens, is that people are just, using AI to just pump out slop, and it's really unnecessary, guys. And one of my biggest pet peeves with AI is someone just triggering an LLM. Maybe they set up some sort of automation or trigger, and then they just pump out. AI just produces tons and tons and tons of words and graphs and charts and graphics, and you're like, I'm gonna share this with everyone. Look how smart I am. Look how amazing this is. And it's like, bro, you just kind of like flooded my brain with AI slop. Thanks for the 35 pages of a brief, but like, good and I think this is kind of an interesting problem because going back to school, I don't know if you've ever written a research paper or an essay. One of the things that you'll do in papers like that is you're kind of try to fill in as many words as possible. You're like, okay, it's got to be 5 pages long, so I'm just going to write a bunch of garbage to get to 5 pages. And I think a lot of times people kind of succumb to that, where good writing and good imagery and good charts is like just the facts. It's just the data that is needed. It's just the words that are needed. So anyway, just a few quick thoughts here on what's happening at Agentforce or at Salesforce with the Agentforce and those layoffs. Guys, if you like today's video, smash subscribe, smash like. I will catch you in the next one. And quite frankly, let me know, what are your biggest pet peeves with AI? What do you think is happening at Salesforce? Put it in the comments below. If it's a great comment, I'll pin you. If it's not, I'll give you a thumbs up. It's all good. All right, boys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.